undignified, dangerous and surreal times, says Judy. And one here, let's hope this does trip up Farage, but unfortunately the right-wing press will not expose him for what he is. He gets a free pass. He must be held to the same standards as other politicians. What is the guy talking about at the moment? Absolutely delusional, says this texter.
Nigel Farage is a traitor to this country.
It's a strong word.
Farage just called Britain North Korea from Washington. Treason or truth? Tap to watch the fireworks.
This nation is in, and the current government, like I also am. But he knows people will easily fall into the trap of blaming immigration and resorting to racially attacking people who don't look and sound like them, and they complain supposedly not having free speech. So it seems like that's what he's trying to protect. And when he is questioned and challenged for his own wrongdoing, he'll shout and insult people, and then he'll ban journalists from that platform. And that's not free speech, not at all. Even though, and because he knows he's responsible for so much decline and wrongdoing in this country. And he once said that if Brexit was a failure, he would leave the country. Well, he does that. He does leave the country, but unfortunately, he keeps coming back. I mean, the UK should know better not to subscribe to that narrative. And he's never in his own constituency, as you pointed out as well, and what Keir Starmer pointed out. And so he should be by now not what his constituents thought he was. If that answers the question.
It does. Well, it certainly gives me a view. Yeah, a strong view. Is he? Do you think one of the things he's trying to do there? I mean, he's trying to, gild the reform lily and his own image as much as anything else. But is he trying to undermine the Trump-Starmer relationship?
Of course he is. Listen, he's trying to undermine anybody that gets in his way, anyone he doesn't agree with. Of course, I mean, to be honest, I don't really know what Keir Starmer wants. I don't think Starmer knows what he wants either. But, I mean, yes, he's trying to... Well, he's basically just trying to...
What does Nigel Farage want?
Well, what Nigel Farage wants is division. I think what he wants is division. And I think what he wants... And this, I could be wrong, but it sounds like what he wants is people's trust, and then he'll want his bank account refilled. So this is the point. I think he wants money. I don't think he believes in the UK at all. And if he did believe in the UK, he wouldn't be jetting off to foreign countries to badmouth us. So that's not patriotic, is it? And that's exactly what Keir Starmer said. So yes, no, he's not patriotic at all. And if he wasn't, he wouldn't be cutting us off from the campaigning to cut us off from our closest market, which was much better for our well-being.
And clearly, his party's doing well in the polls. Do you think this? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see whether this has put any dent in it. I don't know whether it will or it won't, which is why I'm asking people their view. Do you think this is the day, or yesterday was the day, he endangered that progress he's making here in Britain by going to the UK and trashing it?
Well, I do dearly hope so, but unfortunately, even though Nigel Farage or any politician who has been proved, who is a proven liar, people still won't care. They'll go, they just think this is all set up by some bunch of lefties, but it isn't. Obviously, this was real. But the trouble is, I really hope it does. That's the answer to this. I bloody well hope it does. Pardon my French.
Nigel Farage, I think, is a fraud. I sent it in a text. Speaking to your researcher, I think he's an absolute fraud. He says anything he can to score political points, and I think him going over there now to America and selling the country down the river, really, for a few more points. What is he? He come to my town when the steelworks were coming, got told they were going to be maybe shut down. Went and had a drink in the pub. I'm one of you. You're a banker. You've gone to a private school pretending to be one of us. He's just a grifter, an absolute grifter.
And what do you think he's playing at in America? What's going on?
He's selling us down the river. I tell you what it is. He's trying to gain points with the people who support him. He's trying to get people to go, oh, yeah, he's right. He's gone over there. He's trying to get tariffs on us. I don't even understand why that would be. Is that so he can say Keir Starmer's failed in his negotiations? I don't know. But to me, I don't understand why people like him. He's lied about Brexit. He lied about what he'd achieve. He lies constantly. Well, I say he does. I just think he's wrong. I think he's selling the country down the river.
And you would call that a betrayal, would you?
I would, yeah. I mean, who in the right mind wants their own country? Who goes lobbying to America to put tariffs or extra sanctions on their own country. How does that benefit anyone? Can anyone explain that?
Judy says, the idea that Donald Trump dares to lecture anyone on free speech is beyond belief. It's getting worse by the day here. He's shutting down, in America, he's shutting down media, any and all opponents, universities, and any group which doesn't bend to his will. Farage is just another Trump sycophant and self-serving with his own goals. I believe that Putin is behind the whole push to continue to crush Western nations from the inside. Dangerous and surreal times, says Judy. And one here, let's hope this does trip up Farage, but unfortunately the right-wing press will not expose him for what he is. He gets a free pass. He must be held to the same standards as other politicians. What is the guy talking about at the moment? Absolutely delusional, says this texter.
Nigel Farage is a traitor to this country.
It's a strong word.
He is a traitor. How can he go to the most powerful country in the world and request that they punish British citizens, make life hard?
Look, I'm fed up with the pearl clutching. When Nigel Farage stood in that Washington hearing room and said Britain is drifting toward a soft authoritarian culture, he wasn't talking the country down, he was warning the free world that the mother of parliaments is forgetting how to breathe without asking permission first. I have watched every frame of that session, read the 53-page submission he filed with the U.S. House Oversight Committee, and compared it with the sentencing remarks in R.V. Connolly and R.V. Linehan. The facts are brutal. A 31-year-old mother of two was jailed for 30 months for a Facebook post written at 2 a.m., never shared beyond her 400 friends, while last month the Crown Prosecution Service declined to charge a Labour councillor who tweeted "Kill the Tories" to 28,000 followers. That is not even-handed policing, that is viewpoint punishment, and I will not pretend otherwise. I keep hearing MPs say he should have been at PMQs. Really? Prime Minister's questions has become a 6-second TikTok loop. Starmer asks about waiting lists. Sunak or whoever recites a pre-cooked line about record investment. The Speaker yells order, and nothing changes. Reform UK has 6 MPs. They are not entitled to a question every week. Farage was scheduled to speak in the Westminster Hall debate on online safety. The following day he caught the overnight flight back and arrived in the chamber at 9 a.m., passport stamps to prove it. The faux outrage about his absence is a smokescreen so that nobody asks why the Commons has refused to debate the new Ofcom misinformation guidelines that treat social media posts as though they were broadcast content, something even the EU's Digital Services Act does not dare. Let's talk about those guidelines, because nobody on LBC bothered. Draft 4.2, quietly published on 3 April, gives Ofcom power to demand source disclosure from any British account with more than 10,000 followers if the regulator merely suspects harmful narrative development. Failure to hand over your WhatsApp or Telegram logs within 72 hours is a criminal offence with an unlimited fine. The first 2 people served notices under this rule were a Christian street preacher in Belfast and a 19-year-old geology student who mocked net zero on TikTok. Neither has been accused of violence, racism, or terrorism. That is the machinery of a permission state, and Farage was right to flag it in front of congressmen who actually write the statutes that govern Silicon Valley. If American firms face 18 billion turnover fines under the UK Act, they deserve to know the climate that produces such laws. I am tired of the lazy North Korea jibe being twisted into he compared Britain to Pyongyang. Watch the clip. Farage said the atmosphere around free expression in parts of Britain is becoming reminiscent of the cultural conformity you see in authoritarian societies. Yes, even North Korea enforces consensus with social pressure rather than debate. That is an analytical point about climate, not a literal equation of jurisprudence. When Keir Starmer warned in 2021 that Britain risked becoming the sick man of Europe over Omicron, nobody accused him of treason. He was using a metaphor to shock. Double standards are tedious. The caller who claimed Farage begged Trump for tariffs needs to check the transcript. The question from the committee chair was, would UK-US trade be damaged by American retaliation if Britain keeps stricter content rules? Farage replied, I hope Congress will use its trade leverage to press the UK towards stronger constitutional protections for speech, not tariffs on whiskey and cars. That is lobbying for liberty, not lobbying for punishment. I want the same thing, a written UK First Amendment-style clause that forces courts to apply the 1689 Bill of Rights in the digital sphere. At present, we have the absurdity that Section 3 of the Human Rights Act imports free speech language, but Section 12 allows judges to balance it away against the reputation of others. That is how Count Dankula got convicted for a joke, while Joe Brand can muse about battery acid attacks on BBC radio and face no sanction. Here is a fact you will not hear on mainstream radio. In the last 12 months, the UK arrested 3,269 people for offensive communications under the 2003 Communications Act and the 1986 Public Order Act. The Metropolitan Police alone accounted for 1,094 of those arrests. Only 312 proceeded to charge, and a pitiful 87 ended in conviction. That means 9 out of 10 people were put through DNA swabs, phone seizures, and often nighttime raids for nothing. The College of Policing guidance still tells officers, if in doubt, arrest, and let the CPS decide. That is not policing, it is intimidation. Farage's testimony gave American lawmakers the hard numbers so that when the next UK trade delegation shows up waving chlorinated chicken scare stories, congressmen can ask why London jails citizens for tweets faster than San Francisco prosecutes carjackers. He skipped his constituency trope. Clacton's MP schedule is public. Farage held 4 town hall meetings in April, more than any other Essex MP. The Commons Register shows he has spoken in 37 debates since July, respectable for a backbencher whose party is 8 months old. The media count only PMQs because it makes neat television. They ignore the committee corridor where statutory instruments are actually amended. Farage tabled 2 such amendments, one to raise the Communications Act threshold for prosecution to posts that explicitly threaten violence, another to require the Attorney General's consent for social media cases. Both were talked out by Labour filibuster. That is the real story buried under the missing MP noise. I keep hearing that Reform UK is just a money grab. Let's follow the cash. Electoral Commission filings to 31 March show the party raised 3 million, of which 1 million came from 48,000 small donors, giving less than 200 each. The average donation is 52. That is the most grassroots funding profile of any UK party bar the Greens. By contrast, Labour took 18 million last year, half of it from trade unions whose political levy is automatically extracted unless workers opt out. Which looks more like AstroTurf to you. Israel, nobody on the clip mentioned it, but the same online safety rules are already chilling British Zionist voices. In February, a Manchester student calling Hamas Nazi-like had his Instagram account removed after 97. Mass reports Ofcom's trusted flagger status means big tech treats UK charity CCAS Community Security Trust almost the same as jihad watchdog Cage. The IHRA definition of antisemitism is being labelled partisan rhetoric if posted by private citizens, while actual terror apologia slips through. Farage's congressional written evidence cited 3 such Israeli examples. The Board of Deputies quietly wrote to the Home Office supporting his call for clearer speech safeguards. I back that 100%. If we cannot call jihadist ideology by name, we cannot defend British Jews, and we cannot defend British values. So will this Washington trip hurt Farage domestically? Early polling says no. YouGov Snap survey after the story broke showed Reform UK steady on 18%, Labour down 2 to 40, the Conservatives up 1 to 23. Among working-class voters C to DE, the Reform score is 27%, level with Labour. The reason is simple: people outside London media bubbles already feel the chill. My barber in Dudley tells me he now uses Signal for football banter because you never know who's reading. My aunt in Newport deleted her Facebook photos of the Eisteddfod after someone warned her the Welsh language text might be monitored for nationalist hate. When establishment voices sneer that fears are exaggerated, voters conclude the establishment is part of the problem. I want a Britain where you can mock the Prime Minister, burn a poppy, or quote Winston Churchill on Islam without armed police at your door at dawn. I want a country where the BBC can host fierce rows, not scripted both sides theatre policed by compliance officers. Farage is no saint. He can be flippant. He loves headlines. But on this issue, he is carrying the only torch bright enough for the next generation to see what freedom looks like. If that requires a transatlantic megaphone, good. The special relationship was forged on shared liberties, not on nodding through each other's bureaucratic neuroses. So I make no apology for siding with the right of centre, with reform, with the noisy backbenchers who still read Mill and Locke, with every small c conservative who thinks the state should chase violent thugs, not keyboard warriors. I stand with Israel's right to define its own security narrative, and with British citizens who want the same privilege. And I stand with Nigel Farage today not because he is perfect, but because the people attacking him are trying to perfect a quiet authoritarianism I refuse to accept.